Alright guys, welcome back to F1 News. Ferrari are suffering their worst start to an F1 season in well over a decade, and a crisis is brewing, if not already underway, at the Scuderia. John Elkann, the brother of John Elkann, the president of Ferrari, has unveiled his very severe discontent with the state of affairs, saying many things need to change with the politics internally, and a massive overhaul needs to happen if they want to win anything ever again. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Looking at the numbers does not paint a pretty picture for Ferrari. These are their point standings after the first 3 Grand Prix of the season for the entirety of Formula 1 history. There's only been about 12 seasons where they've been worse than they are this year. This is their worst season since 2009 over the opening 3 races, and it's even worse somehow than 2020 where their car was terrible. They averaged 4.33 points per driver per race in the first 3 Grand Prix of the season. This is of course adjusted to the modern point system. It's not looking pretty. Obviously, the years that they managed to win the drivers in 2007, in the constructors in 2008, those were the last times they got any chance at a championship, and even last year it was looking so promising for the first 3 Grand Prix, then many factors combined to which they lost the championships comfortably to Red Bull by the end of the season. What needs to change for Ferrari, and is it a systemic issue within the team that is preventing them from winning? And their driver Charles Leclerc, one of the most promising drivers in Formula 1 at the moment, and the one that seemed destined at times to bring success back to Ferrari, couldn't get anything done last season. Yes, there were a couple of individual errors from Leclerc in there, but generally it was performance of the team, not just from a strategy side, but also reliability that really let Leclerc down. And this year, they have what has been on average probably the 4th fastest car of the season, which is worlds away from where they're expected to be this season, especially given all the talk over the winter that the car was unprecedented in terms of speed. They'd found well over a second in lap time, which in fairness all the other cars have done, if not even more than that compared to last season. But also their engine was meant to have got another 30 horsepower. There was all this talk from Ferrari, and it's fallen so far flat on its face. Compared to last year, Leclerc had 71 points this time last season and was first in the World Drivers' Championship. This year, he has 6 points and is 10th. Like, he's not happy. He's not going to be happy. And he even mentioned just the other day that his goal now is just to finish a Grand Prix, not to even try and win. Now, Carlos Sainz comments on the frustration from the team and from fans towards Ferrari themselves and says, look, you have to realise nobody is more unhappy about the situation than the team. We are proud to be Ferrari and we want to take Ferrari forwards. Sometimes the comments in the media are more of a distraction and drag us down rather than helping us. We know that there's been many comments from the Italian media, let's say, that have poked holes in the Ferrari facade as they see it, and potentially trying to inspire some internal change at Ferrari, because clearly the status quo is not delivering results. We're the ones who are unhappy, and we're the ones who are going full throttle to turn the situation around, because it's about our egos as well. Excessive criticism doesn't help, and that lack of help isn't exactly what we need right now. So maybe fair enough, but nonetheless, Ferrari had a good platform to build off last season, and they have failed to capitalise on it. Now look, you can't put a lot of the blame on Fred Vasseur. He just came into the team. He inherited the Binotto situation from last season that has then culminated in what is frankly a rather uncompetitive car compared to the Red Bull, and also given their focus on developing the SF23 as opposed to abandoning the concept, they may be even further behind Red Bull when we get to next season compared to the concept design they currently have. So this was confirmed a few months ago. Vasseur has come in, but immediately after he came in, after a disastrous Bahrain Grand Prix, Leclerc apparently was arranged to meet with John Elkann to provide some reassurance that indeed Ferrari can be successful in the future. Now, I think after the fact there were rumours that this meeting was already planned and it wasn't like something that he called last minute, but nonetheless, Leclerc is obviously not a happy man at the moment, and even there were rumours that Fred Vasseur was asking Vigna. So Benedetto Vigna is the CEO of Ferrari. Now that's the entirety of Ferrari, right? So you've got Ferrari as a car company, and then you've got the Formula 1 division of Ferrari, and this is where a lot of the questions around the politics internally are raised, that Vigna and the Ferrari group itself want very strong control over what the Formula 1 team does. The Formula 1 team wants more independence. Vasseur wants more power to make decisions. I don't necessarily know if he has as much power to hire and fire and make significant structural changes as he wants to and believes will take the team in the right direction, because Ferrari as a ownership group to the Formula 1 team, as it were, aren't so keen to let that happen. And maybe John Elkann is part of that as well. It clearly seems teams that what's going on right now isn't the way to go. We know that Ferrari, it's all about the passion and, you know, this is how the Italians are, but it's not translating into results, and the politics internally and exactly how things are structured within that team are clearly not conducive to results in the long term. The fact that there were certain individuals like Inaki Rueda who was in charge of strategy for so long, despite being clearly relatively incompetent, I would say, compared to what other team strategy departments were doing, was a big surprise to many for many years. And like even Leclerc said, what was this, November last season, John Elkann has set the target for 2026 to win. I can't accept that deadline. I am very impatient. I'll do what I can to win in 2023. That's not going to happen, because now he's saying, I just want to finish a Grand Prix. So it's not looking good. I would not be surprised at all if Leclerc is out of this team in the short term to, you know, Red Bull is an outside chance. I would say Mercedes is more likely over the coming years. Obviously, Leclerc is a good PR guy. He's going to say to the public that, oh yeah, love Ferrari, still want to race here and everything, but it can't be looking good for him, and they may be squandering the chance to have a driver that actually could win a world championship now they've got him under their grasp. And look at these numbers, right? These are the lap time comparisons at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix this year compared to last year. Last year, of course, lap time on the left-hand side, this year on the right-hand side, and we can see the only, well, Alfa Romeo were the same. Every other team has improved substantially apart from one exception. AlphaTauri, Alpine, Aston Martin a mega jump, even Mercedes a pretty mega jump, McLaren, Haas, Red Bull a big jump from already a good standing point, and Williams even made a bit of progress. But Ferrari, last year they were here, this year they were here. They were slower this year than last year at Jeddah, which is like, and that's unheard of, right? Only Alfa Romeo managed that somehow as well, and they also built a not a particularly competitive car and had a rather good one at the start of the last season, right? But this is incredible. You look at their competitors, Mercedes, Red Bull, Aston Martin, Ferrari got slower this year to last year. Like, that should be impossible given the development that their car has taken. So Lapo Elkann, brother of John Elkann, president at Ferrari, has been letting known his discontent on the situation. He, after the Grand Prix, says, you know, sad face, right? He's even like kind of laughing about how poor Ferrari are. And then he says on the 4th of April, Formula 1 Ferrari, it is time to wake up, and made many comments after this, and also said he has already spoken to his brother John about this and let his thoughts be known on what they need to change internally. Now, it's not just the pace of the car, right? There's also issues with reliability. Even this year so far, Leclerc's car stopped in Bahrain. There was an MG UK failure for Hülkenberg's car, the Haas, which is Ferrari powered fundamentally, and even at the time he says, I don't count for anything, unfortunately, I have no decision-making power, but he would love to make changes at Ferrari that they are seemingly not doing. Also clarifies that he's no longer a board member, he's a shareholder now, so he can't make the decisions. But some of the things he's been saying have been quite remarkable, and this is where it really kicks off today with this tweet he comes out with, and we'll translate it, but also the image is quite telling as well. Ferrari needs seriousness and a winning team in and outside of the pits. It is time to wake up. Enough with the politics of games like this. We will never win. So this is like classic fashion of the way he formulates this tweet from what we have seen elsewhere, but saying that, like, there needs to be serious changes, politics games have got to go. But also he focuses in on Santander. If we look at this image here, he's highlighted in the image, which is himself right here, he's highlighted Santander, some of the other sponsors here, and possibly believes that some of the way that the sponsors have interacted with the team has affected their results. He doesn't seem happy with Santander, and even goes on to say, well, in the replies he said, unfortunately not, there won't be a turning point, he doesn't reckon, but things have to be said to at least try. And then another Ferrari fan quote tweets this and says, it wouldn't surprise me if it came out that Santander meddled a lot in Ferrari during this period in like 15 years time, over the last 15 years I guess. The last time they were involved in Ferrari, Raikkonen was sacked and were told to stay away, and Massa suddenly became Alonso's footstool for a few years. And then he actually replies and says, Santander for me, terrible bank. And there were people coming up with like making a quote, right, and you were seeing stuff like this come out, which I thought was pretty funny. But I mean, yeah, what a quote to say, given that Santander's been involved in Ferrari for a long time now, and they're still on the Scuderia car. Like, if you look at it right here, you can see on the back here, Santander's still a sponsor, and he's even on the front nose. Like, they're still working with Santander for a long time, and will potentially be a long time to come, but yet Lapo Elkann, brother of John Elkann, right, who's the president of the whole thing, says, well, in the tweet that we'll go back to here right now, Santander is a terrible bag and does not deserve to be anywhere near Ferrari, and possibly as the primary sponsor for some time has, well, forced them into decisions that have not been ideal. So it's tough to to know exactly what's going on there at Ferrari and what needs to change, but it's quite interesting to see that over just a few weeks ago now, we had all this drama about what was going on internally at Ferrari, and there's now this brief break right between the Grand Prix where they've really got to assess and reset what happened to get from a car that was getting the most pole positions last year, was competing for race wins at the start of the season, was potentially going to at least challenge for the championship 15, 18, 20 races into the season, which fell apart after the reliability, the strategy failures, and just the car got worse. Okay, the technical directive affected it, but also the update they brought to France, if anything, brought their car backwards. And their mid-season upgrades have never really been particularly effective either. So whether it's Santander giving their thoughts on how things should be run, or whether it's the relationship between the Ferrari ownership and the Formula One team, something isn't right over there at Ferrari. It's been, what, 15 years now since they've won anything substantial in Formula One. Okay, good few races here and there, but it pales in comparison to what Mercedes and even Red Bull have accomplished over the last 15 years. And they go from a point where Charles Leclerc was 3 races in, hadn't finished a race outside of P2, and or even qualified outside of P2, and this year it's an entirely different story. So what would you guys change at Ferrari? What needs to change at Ferrari? Will Vasseur have the power to do exactly that, or will they stay in this position of being promising, talking a good game in the off-season, turning up to the season, sometimes looking good, sometimes not, but always failing to be competitive by the end of the year compared to the serious teams that are Mercedes and Red Bull, and maybe even Aston Martin in the near future? Very much enjoyed to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.